Episodes of Palette Swap are suggested by viewers like you. If there's a character you'd like me to analyze, let me know in the comment section down below. Good morrow everyone, Silvershire here, and welcome back to Palette Swap, where I rank the costumes and character designs of your favorite fighting games. And by your favorite fighting games, I mean my favorite fighting games, and by my favorite fighting games, I mean Soulcalibur. Today, we're looking at the world's second least stealthy ninja, Taki. But before we begin our analysis, here's a quick refresher course on who Taki is and what we should be looking for in our character designs. Taki is a member of the Fuma clan, a band of ninjas that specializes in slaying and imprisoning demons. She was raised by the clan's leader, Taki, and quickly became his most skilled agent. However, in an ironic twist of fate, Taki became so hungry for power that he transformed into a demon himself. Taki believed the source of her master's corruption was the cursed sword Souledge, so she set out to find and destroy the evil blade. If she fails, she may need to cut her own master down. Taki's 1P is arguably the most iconic design from the original Souledge. Its defining feature is a skin-tight suit, which will go on to appear in all of her future 1Ps and several of her 2Ps. It looks lightweight and maneuverable, which is fitting for someone with a quick and acrobatic fighting style like ninjutsu. However, she's not totally without protection, as she has some samurai-style armor on her arms, legs, and shoulders. There's also a single metal band around her torso, which doesn't seem very helpful, but I like that it breaks up the large expanse of red. Though this is nothing close to what a historical ninja would actually wear, it's obvious that she's meant to be a ninja. Elements like her menpo mask and her metal boots that are shaped like tabby socks clearly tap into the shinobi aesthetic. As for her palette, she must be a fan of mine, because she's repping the channel colors. Bright red isn't a great choice for someone who's trying to be stealthy, but it has a lore explanation that's rooted in Japanese mythology. Apparently, demons and evil spirits are said to be warded off by this hue. I have no real criticisms of this design, but I think future iterations improve upon it. 8 out of 10. This costume's alternate color is green and gold. I don't think it's quite as striking as red and silver, but it's a decent alternative. I can imagine her wearing this while sneaking through a forest or something like that. 7 out of 10. Her 2P is— wait, is that my channel logo? Wow, she really is a fan. Anyway, her 2P is pretty similar to her 1P. It too consists of a skin-tight suit with some samurai-style armor on the arms and legs. Aside from the color, the biggest differences are that she's wearing a headband instead of a mask and has fishnets on her shoulders. Ninjas and fishnets is a common trope that stems from people misinterpreting depictions of chainmail armor. I think it's a good addition, as it adds a bit of texture. In the official render, the crests on her arms and legs are more clearly Japanese symbols called futatsu domoe. However, there are several inconsistencies between the render and the in-game model, so I'm still gonna pretend it's my logo. Her palette is mostly blue, which is a more typical ninja color that contrasts the red of her 1P. I do like this outfit, but I wish it was more unique. 6 out of 10. This costume's alternate color is orange. I might like it if it wasn't so dark and desaturated, but as is, it's sort of flat. 5 out of 10. Her 3P is what I think her 2P should have been. It's a slightly more grounded outfit, slightly being the keyword there, that opts for a sleeveless robe instead of a bodysuit. Since this is her most ninja-y costume, I think it would benefit from a mask, maybe one made of bandages to tie into the arms and legs. Her color palette is basically the same as her 2P, which suits the design but further contributes to her ults not feeling very distinct. 7 out of 10. Her Soulcalibur I 1P follows the same general concept as the previous game, but it makes a lot of changes, the most obvious being that her mask is now made of the same material as her suit. I personally prefer the metal mask, but this still looks good, and since none of her future costumes have a cloth mask, it stands out from the crowd. Her armor has been slimmed down significantly, which makes sense for a ninja, though the lack of those big rectangular pauldrons makes her silhouette less interesting. Some other additions include a cutout on her chest, bare arms, asymmetrical gauntlets, and straw sandals, all of which I feel pretty neutral about. What I don't like is that her suit is more of a pinkish magenta than red. Now she's not stealthy and she doesn't repel demons. There are some cool ideas here, but I think it's a slight downgrade from Souledge. 7 out of 10. Much like the last game, her 2P replaces her mask with a headband and makes her suit blue. There are no fishnets, but her armor is a little bulkier and has a wave pattern on it. Again, I like this outfit, but I wish it was more unique. 6 out of 10. Her Soulcalibur II 1P undoes many of the last game's changes, although it retains the bare arms and sandals. Her palette is more complex this time around, incorporating some purple and gold accents such as the cloud decal on her leg. Her silver armor is also darker, which is fitting for a ninja. Unfortunately, she doesn't have any sort of mask, which makes the design less unique. This isn't the first costume to expose her face, but it's the first default costume to do so. And what's worse is that none of her alternate costumes have a mask to make up for it. At least her suit is back to pure red. 6 out of 10. Her 2P is finally something other than a bodysuit. It has some interesting real-world history, as it wasn't originally Taki's. Early in Soulcalibur II's development, Taki was going to be replaced by a younger ninja named Setsu. Obviously that didn't end up happening, but the designers apparently liked her outfit so much that they recycled it for Taki. The poofy shoulders give her a unique silhouette, and the black, white, and gold palette is striking. 8 out of 10. Her 3P is based on Wayahime from the old school Namco game Bravo Man, but thankfully it's not a one-to-one recreation. The marks on her forehead are reminiscent of the hikamayu makeup popular among upper-class women in medieval Japan. Aside from the pauldrons, it's mostly unarmored, which along with their loose hair gives it a more casual vibe than Taki's other outfits. Speaking of the pauldrons, they're decorated with throwing stars, which is a neat detail not present in Wayahime's version. However, that leads into one of my criticisms, which is how unbalanced the design is. Her shoulders are way bulkier than everything else, and make her unnecessarily top-heavy. I also think the fishnet should come a little further down her arms and legs, because they're not very noticeable most of the time. 7 out of 10. Her Soulcalibur III 1P brings back the classic metal mask, and it also redesigns her armor to resemble demonic faces, which is awesome. Her suit is now a dark, desaturated blue that blends in against the night sky. Despite my blatant favoritism towards red costumes, I think this change works really well. It emphasizes her role as a spy and assassin rather than a demon hunter. This is my favorite iteration of Taki's classic look. 10 out of 10. Her 2P takes some cues from her previous 2P, but it goes in a more stylized fantasy direction. Makes heavy use of triangular shape language, which is associated with action and danger. However, the outfit is kind of all over the place. It lacks the simple elegance of her Soulcalibur II ults. 6 out of 10. For the first time in this series, we're going to take a look at Soulcalibur Legends. I usually skip over it because it just uses Soulcalibur III's designs, or sometimes basic recolors of them, but Taki actually gets a slightly unique variation. She now has fishnets on the sides of her suit and a light blue pattern along the edges. It's bordering on too busy, but it's cool enough that I'll let it slide. 10 out of 10. Her Soulcalibur IV 1P maintains the demonic armor look and adds some fishnets to her sides, arms, and back. Unfortunately, it also removes her mask yet again. She's back to wearing magenta, but it's a darker, purpler magenta that I think suits her better than the bright tone from Soulcalibur 1. 8 out of 10. Her 2P is her fanciest and most elaborate outfit. It's covered in beautiful details like a subtle floral pattern and intricate gold decorations. The long scarves that flow over her shoulders create dynamic lines of action as she jumps and flips around the stage. The color palette and visible stitching leads me to believe it takes some inspiration from Miko, or Shinto shrine maidens, which would tie into her theme of repelling malevolent spirits. She doesn't look much like a ninja, but I don't mind since this is an alternate costume. 9 out of 10. Soulcalibur VI is a reboot of the series, and Taki's design is essentially a mix of her Soulcalibur 1 and 3 1Ps. When she uses her soul charge, glow and kanji appear all over her body, which looks super cool and does a good job of indicating her supernatural abilities. Her suit isn't quite pure red, but it's not as magenta as Soulcalibur 4. I don't have much to say about this costume because not much of it is new, but it's one of her best. 9 out of 10. Soulcalibur VI doesn't have any alternate costumes, but it does have alternate colors. Unsurprisingly, her color 2 is blue, which makes it look even more like her Soulcalibur III 1P. Also a 9 out of 10. Her color 3 is white and removes her mask. It's entirely monochromatic, but the strong value contrast makes up for it. Also a 9 out of 10. Lastly, her color 4 is olive green and removes her pauldrons. I like the color palette, but the lack of armor is less interesting. 8 out of 10. And with that, we have ranked every single Taki costume. Despite some blatant fanservice, I think they're mostly well designed. They're unique, eye-catching, and communicate the most important aspects of Taki's character. Well, that's just my opinion, so what do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. Also, let me know which character you'd like to see next. For episode 29, we'll continue the ninja theme by discussing Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, as requested by Axel Hunter. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I bid thee farewell.